So we finished the first season of Troy Tries. Everything's been uploaded, and it was really, really cool. It was really fun. It's been something I've thought about for a really long time that I've probably been pretty scared to actually go ahead and do, but I took the leap and it was so much fun. It was really cool, and I think I worked with some amazing people, some amazing guests, and they're absolutely incredible at what they do, and they're just all around good people as well. And I think from each lesson, my goal for the series, from a selfish point of view, was to try and take away a message to incorporate in my training or just in my life in general. So this video is sort of just highlighting what I learnt from each guest and each episode. We started with a really, really cool episode. We started with boxing, which was probably one of the scarier ones to do straight off the bat. I was really fortunate. I worked with Justin Fitzgerald from Stand Strong Boxing, and he's one of Australia's best boxing coaches, and he was so generous to give up his time. I got to work with a couple of his, top-end fighters. So I got to work with Michael and Slobo, and those guys are absolute killers, which was cool to sort of learn from them, and to hop in the ring with Michael was a really cool experience. And I think there were so many takeaways, and like the sort of thought of like working really hard and not giving up even when you're really tired. There was heaps of things like that, but I think the biggest takeaway that I got from that episode was to learn to defend yourself, like learn to be able to fight, not in the sense of like going out and actually trying to fight people, but to be able to protect yourself and protect the people you love. Like, these guys are, everyday guys. Like they're not full-time professional boxers, and they absolutely killed me that whole episode. And the thought of, if you're ever out on the street, or if you're ever, out with your family and something were to happen, would you actually be able to defend yourself? Would you be able to defend your family? So yeah, that was my takeaway for that. Learn to defend yourself so you can protect the people you love. Episode 2, I worked with Kashi, who is one of the coolest, most interesting people I've ever come across. So we worked through the art of Palavani, or Persian yoga, and this was an experience like nothing I've ever done in my life. So it's one of the oldest martial arts conditioning system, I believe the oldest martial arts conditioning system in the world, and some of the weapons, tools, implements we used were like nothing else you'd see in a gym. And Kashi was so cool. So it was a really like spiritual sort of practice for him. It wasn't just a matter of training. There was this like real deep connection with it, a real deep connection with his like culture and history. It was incredible. And one of the takeaways, or the main takeaway I got from this episode, was a term that he used quite a bit. It was be tireless. And what he meant, or what I took from it, was this wasn't a training system to make you look really good. This wasn't a training system so you can run a better 5K. This was life or death. This was you're training to kill when you're training not to be killed. And if you were to quit, not necessarily just during training, but during actual battles, you'd die, and that's the end of it. So being tireless was a really cool takeaway. Now, in episode 3, I headed down to the south coast, or down to Wollongong, and I got to train in, I would call it, an adult's playground. It was so cool with the amount of cool strongman tools, toys, implements, whatever you want to say, but the equipment there was incredible. I worked with coach Alex Downs, who has a wealth of knowledge. He's a really cool guy and very, very cool training history, and competing in strongman. He's done really well. And what I've noticed working with him, or what I took away working with him and seeing some of his athletes, is there's a lot of risk in what they do. They're working with insane loads, like absolutely incredible. But if you want to deal with those insane loads, if you want to be able to move those sort of weights, there is quite a bit of risk involved. And even with the best conditioning and training systems, there's still a chance you get hurt. And it's a matter of, are you willing to put yourself at risk? Are you willing to, really risk something that might scare you if you want to achieve something really cool? So I think the takeaway from that one was be willing to risk things if you want great things. episode for this one was rough. I headed out to CrossFit Picton 2571, and I worked with the head coach there, Dill Seeley, who incredible athlete, incredible coach, and he was really helpful and taught me so much. This was one of the toughest workouts I've done in my life. Like I felt so crook. I don't know if you can tell in the actual episode, but at the end, my ears are ringing that much that I have no perception of like how loud or soft I'm talking. So I was really scared in the video I'd actually be screaming, but I think it worked out all right. And the takeaway from this one, there was a really cool quote that I've loved for a while now, and that's, "The jack of all trades is the master of none, but sometimes better than the master of one." And in CrossFit, you need to be good at so many different things and so many different, aspects of training. You need gymnastic skills, you need overall strength, you need to be fit, you need to be able to run, swim. You don't know what the actual event's going to be. So your training needs to vary so much. You need to practice so many different things. And it sort of encompasses the Troy Tries series just in that episode alone. Episode 5, I headed out to Sydney Indoor Climbing Gym in Villawood, which was really, really cool. And I was fortunate enough to work with Australia's first ever Olympic rock climbing athlete, Tom O'Halloran. And he is a really, really cool guy, and hearing his story, he was obsessed with climbing from a really early age, and he spent so much time not just practicing it, but studying it and thinking about it constantly. And he was just an incredible guy, and it sort of shows why he's such a good climber and why he's so good at what he does. He brought up a really interesting fact with me, or what he thinks would be a fact, that he considered himself one of the weaker in terms of physical strength athletes that climb for Australia and climb at the higher sort of level. But he said, he has other strengths that really help him to find success in the sport. And I think the takeaway message for me for that one is there's many different ways to solve the same puzzle. So he has a very different body shape to mine. He has different strengths and I have different strengths. And, we're both able to finish the same wall, which for him was probably a warm-up. For me, it was much tougher, but he was able to finish a wall, I was able to finish a wall, and we did it different ways. It didn't look exactly the same. And, some people might be tall with really long levers, some people might be short and really explosive, and it doesn't mean that you can't solve that problem. Episode 6 was a really fun one. I was out at Power Elite in Smeaton Grange working with the Iron Legion Barbell Club. So I had Big Flo, Yanni and Scott Hill. These guys are incredible and definitely learned a ton from them. We did a ton around technique. So I broke a PB bench press, even if it was by half a kilo. But learning the technique and stuff like that was a little bit weird for me, but it's something I'm going to start practicing a bit more. In terms of the life lesson and takeaway that I got from it was don't overcomplicate things. Just really nail the basics before you start worrying about all the extra fancy things. So when I spoke to Scott about their programming, it's pretty much squat, bench, deadlift, and then a couple of accessories around. They don't go into crazy detail and look for the new most improved exercise that's going to fix everything. They nail the basics, they do them really well, and it pays off for them. So for episode 7, we did bodybuilding with the legend Brock Wall at Olympus Gym in Bradbury. And this was a really cool episode for me, and this is sort of the most common sort of way I train. And it was completely eye-opening. So Brock looks incredible, he has an insane physique. And I believe the reason he has that is because of the intensity he trains with. So he's been super consistent. He's done it for a very long time. I thought I trained hard, and seeing how hard this guy worked was just absolutely nuts. It made me realise how much I left in the tank. And he trains like this all the time, and it really opened my eyes to, I'm leaving gains on the table or I'm missing out. So I think the takeaway for me was train with intensity, and whatever it is you're doing in life, do it with intensity, give it your all, and be consistent with it. So good things don't happen overnight. So the last episode was such a fun one to finish on. It was calisthenics with Andy Bennett, or DY Calisthenics as he goes by on Instagram. This one was so much fun. Andy's an incredible guy, and I learned so much just about him and his story, and I definitely took away quite a bit from that app. So in terms of the training, I've definitely started to add more bodyweight stuff, and I've definitely tried to practice some of those flows and some of those moves because they definitely look impressive. But I think after hearing his story, the biggest thing thing that I took away, and you can relate it to training, and I more so just relate it to life in general, is you already have everything you need and more. In training aspects, it's definitely like, your body is more than enough to keep you fit and healthy, and you can do body weight stuff, but just in life, it made me realise how lucky I really am, and I've definitely got everything that I need. So the whole purpose behind the series was I really wanted to highlight to everyone, and dads in particular, that there's so many ways to improve your health and fitness. And I personally love going to the gym, but I know not everyone does. I know so many friends that don't like the gym and strength training and stuff like that. And so the reason I did this is to try and encourage people to go out and give something new a go. So something that you haven't done before, just try, because you'll probably find you enjoy it. You'll learn so many lessons, and there's just so many things to take away whilst improving your health and fitness. So that was sort of the main aim. But selfishly, I really wanted to learn just from people that are excelling in their field, and people that are regarded as really, high-level athletes, coaches, teams, stuff like that. So to have the opportunity to work with such amazing high-level guests has been so much fun for me, and it's really helped me with my own training. It's really helped me with my own health and fitness, and it's really helped me with my programming for clients and trying to incorporate a whole range of different strategies, techniques, and stuff like that. Season 1's in the books. It has been an absolute treat. I've really enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your feedback around it. I'm really excited to announce that we're in the works for Season 2 now, and we have some insanely big name guests lined up. So stay tuned. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you've learned from the series. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to know that I've helped at least one person, because I know this has really helped me. But Season 1 done, Season 2 in the works. This is Troy, aka the Father Figure Coach, checking out.